Faux or fake fur is all the rage this winter, from the bobbles on hats to the trim on coats. And for many of us, it's an ethical decision to buy imitation fur rather than the real thing. But an inside-out investigation has revealed that some of the supposed fake fur we're being sold actually comes from animals slaughtered in factories overseas. Alex Bushell has this exclusive report.
Think animal fur, and chances are you think designer, luxurious, expensive. You might also think cruel and barbaric. That is why so many of us now choose faux or fake fur to adorn our clothes. But how many of us can tell the difference?
Not sure. I feel like I'm flummoxed with it. I would actually change my mind and say that might be real.
Tonight, I'm going to reveal how we are being misled, sold a lie. How the rag trade, the length and breadth of London, may now be being flooded with imported, farmed animal fur. Real fur masquerading as faux fur.
Our investigation starts here, Camden Market, one of the most famous markets in the world. 28 million people come here every year, 100,000 each weekend, all drawn by its vibrant street fashion. Armed with a secret camera, we joined the crowds looking for a purchase, a coat with a fur trim.
Is this real fur or fake fur? Yeah, it's fake. Because it's not, according to the price, it's fake. Because if it's real, it's probably £300-400. Yeah.
It's definitely fake fur, yeah?
Yeah, fake one, yeah. According to the price, it's fake one, of course.
Yeah, but I don't want to buy it if it's real fur.
No. Real is very expensive, sir. Real is very expensive.
100%, yeah?
Yeah, 100%.
100% fake fur.
101%.
This is the coat that we have just bought. It even has a label on it saying 100% polyester. So, no animal fur here then. Only one way to be sure.
Dr. Phil Greaves is the country's leading microfiber expert, so we asked him to run all the tests needed to find out for sure if this was real fur or faux fur.
What is it?
It's animal fibre, because it's got the structural features that only animal fibres have. It's got a scale, an external margin of scales, internal medullary structure, pigment within the fibres. It's of two coats and the fibres taper towards their tips.
So that's 100% certain?
100%.
But which animal species exactly? We asked him to run more tests. While we wait for those results to come back, it's worth remembering what we were told when we bought that coat. That at 30 quid, it's so cheap, it has to be fake fur.
I think a lot of people think that fur is expensive and would look at a £10 bobble hat and not think for a second that it could be real fur. And we just encourage people to really be careful not to sleepwalk into buying real fur and supporting such an abhorrent industry.
Her charity has even gone undercover themselves, filming this footage of what they describe as battery fur farms in China. In the cages, row after row of raccoon dogs. The Humane Society has long campaigned to highlight the issue of cheap imported real fur, which they say is now produced to such an industrial scale at farms like this that the price has dropped to rock bottom. That's why they say these hides could easily be bound for a high street or market near you.
So just how bad is the problem here in London? Well, it's time to go bargain hunting with our secret camera again. This time, the length of London, from Shepherd's Bush Market here in the west to Stratford in the east.
In all, we filmed 17 stalls and shops. Again and again, they told us it was fake fur when it wasn't.
I don't think it's real, man. I know that. Nothing in this shop is made out of animal.
They're like a fake fur.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks real. Yeah, but they're not real.
And again in Shepherd's Bush Market.
It's not real fur.
Okay.
Take me to court.
Take it to court, yeah?
Take me to court, but it's not, 100%.
And then in Stratford, again, we were misled. This time the fur she sold us even had traces of cat.
It's synthetic, I suppose, it's not real. Real can't be for this price,
We were even told by one stallholder that animal rights were top of her list, as she then sold us real fur.
I wouldn't want to sell it if it was real, because I love animals. The thought of an animal being killed just to put a bubble on.
But that's exactly what she has done. Her garment had mink fur on it, and that coat we first bought, well, that's raccoon dog. The rest of the tests also came back for all the items we bought.
I found that everything you sent me had animal fur. This ranged from rabbit to mink to raccoon dog to fox There's a real variety of different animal furs. None of these are labelled as being made of animal fur. And I think the parallel is, if a vegetarian bought burgers and found that they were made of real meat, there would be an outcry. Well, this is a similar thing with fur.
Julie is a vegetarian, a vegan in fact. She complained that this hair clip has a pom-pom on it that looks suspiciously like real fur. She was reassured by the shop that it wasn't. It was mink fur, in fact.
If I did buy that and I was wearing it thinking it was faux fur and then I found out it wasn't, I think it would just make me really ill. I think I'd feel really sick.
Why?
Because I know what they go through, you know, and it's not worth it.
The Humane Society says Julie is far from being alone in complaining about being missold real fur.
It's an appalling act to mislead a would-be ethical consumer into buying a product from an industry which causes such enormous suffering to millions and millions of animals. You know, animals kept in tiny wire cages, fed on waste, denied veterinary care, all for a frivolous pom-pom or a trim on a coat. It's just unacceptable.
So she's clear, the supply chain has been undermined by cheap real fur. We wanted to test that, though, for ourselves.
That's why we've come here to Commercial Road in East London. Now, I've had a tip-off that this is one of the places to best understand how it is that the supply chain may now have been overrun with cheap imported real fur. Many of the wholesalers here supply shops and stalls across London.
So pretending we wanted stock for our own market stall, we went in to a wholesaler. It's a family-run business, and many of the items contain real fur here. The manager then tells us how we can dupe customers who only want fake fur to buy real fur instead, using the tags as a ploy.
Just say I don't know. I'll do this in front of the customer. It doesn't say anything on this, so I can only tell you it's faux fur.
Later, when challenged, he explained that this is a common practice amongst other wholesalers here. A trick of the trade, if you like. Now remember, the law is the same for wholesalers, shops and stallholders. You cannot mislead people to secure a sale. So what do those who missold us real fur have to say for themselves? Well, remember this lady?
Because I wouldn't want to sell it if it was real, because I love her.
We caught up with her.
These are the little ferals that I'm feeding at the moment.
And while showing me photos of stray cats that she says that she's taken in, she gave me this reply.
Honestly, didn't realise that it had real fur in it at all. I mean, I bought it from my supplier that I've been doing business with for years. And I had it in the shop, but I wasn't aware that it was, you know, contained real fur or anything.
And now that we've told you that it has, and we
Yeah,
know,
no,
how do you
I'm
feel?
extremely upset because I'm a staunch animal lover.
We asked everyone who sold us real fur as faux fur to explain themselves. Some simply didn't comment, like these two, so we don't know if they themselves were victims duped by their suppliers. Others, like this lady, said she was shocked and that she relied on the label and was assured by her supplier it wasn't real fur. She's now removed the items from sale. Others, like this stallholder, said they had wrongly assumed it was man-made and had never intended to mislead. That's all of little comfort to anyone who may have inadvertently bought real fur instead of faux fur. A parliamentary inquiry has just been announced to look at this specific issue. Our investigation will now form part of the evidence it looks at. And what of those punters at my stall? How do they feel when I tell them that they too have been tricked into thinking that the fur was fake when it wasn't?
What would you say if I told you that was cat?
I have 2 cats, so that would make me very sad.
Well, that's cat fur. How do you feel about that?
Horrible, I don't want to touch it ever again. Really annoyed. I'd be so upset. I'd be really annoyed. Yeah.
So, willfully misled or sold a lie? Perhaps just an innocent mistake. You decide. All I know is that again and again we were sold faux fur that turned out to be real fur. Animal fur. Time now to shut up shop for the day. Question is, what to do with all of this stuff?
And here it is, all bagged up and ready to go, straight in the bin.
Alex Bushell reporting there. Now